Who would have guessed? Ken Carmen and Anthony Lima arguing and bickering about Shedeur Sanders.
Oh yeah.
He definitely felt it on this one.
Two grown men, professional sports media personalities, sitting inside a fully equipped radio studio on the 4th of July weekend, a holiday, screaming at each other on live air. And the guy they're screaming about, sitting in a tub of ice water, saying absolutely nothing. Let that image live in your head for a second, because it tells you everything you need to know about where this Cleveland quarterback story actually stands right now. Shedeur Sanders has not given one interview, has not fired one shot, has not posted one cryptic caption aimed at anybody. His entire offseason has been chains strapped to his waist, sprints through 104-degree Texas heat, ice baths, arm work, and silence. That's it. That's the whole list. And somehow, that silence has pushed Cleveland media into a full psychological spiral. Radio hosts fighting on air. A former NFL scout firing public shots at his speed over a workout clip on his phone. National outlets inventing trade rumors to fill the dead weeks. One quarterback is narrating his grind for anyone who will listen. The other one got caught grinding by accident. Drop a in the comments right now if you already know which one is ahead. Let's get into it.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
See, with the NFL players and legends I think the positive mean for Shedeur Sanders is I do think he was an NFL starting quarterback on. Man, hey, Chris, talk about it. Because coming out the draft, as much as y'all wanted to ding Shedeur about things, this idea that he didn't have enough arm talent, I was never buying it. So NFL quarterback says, hey, positives, by the way, that boy got an NFL arm. It's plenty good to make all the big throws. We saw highlight type throws. I think that's the thing that surprised me. The physical backyard plays he made last year in the NFL.
It get dangerous.
Shedeur, he's definitely surprised me. He's got a very good short area quickness to make people miss. He can run and get to 10 to 12 yards. He will hang in the pocket and throw the ball under pressure.
Here's what's wild about all of this. The reason Cleveland media can't stop talking about Shedeur Sanders is not because he's giving them material, it's because he isn't. Most young quarterbacks in his position, 5th-round pick, rocky rookie year, immediate competition with a $230 million veteran, would be doing one of two things. Either they'd be running from cameras entirely, or they'd be talking constantly to shape the narrative. Shedeur chose the third option that almost nobody chooses. He just went to work and dared the cameras to catch him. ESPN reported that he spent most of the winter living and training in Cleveland, not going home, not flying somewhere warm to escape the pressure. Cleveland, in the winter, he bought a house there. He planted a flag in a city that wasn't sure it wanted him, and he got to work before anyone was watching. And it wasn't just the players who noticed. Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the franchise, brought it up unprompted at the league meetings. Not in a press release, not in a prepared statement, in a conversation. He said Shedeur's body looks noticeably better, said he can see how hard the work has been, said his instincts tell him this young man is coming back ready to play real football. That's ownership-level confirmation, and nobody asked for it. It just came out because what Haslam was seeing was hard to ignore. Then came the clip that broke the internet, or at least broke Cleveland Twitter. ESPN Cleveland posted video of Shedeur running sprints with chains strapped to his waist, dragging resistance weight through triple-digit summer heat. No camera crew arranged for it. No PR team scripted it. Someone caught it, posted it, and it went viral almost immediately because fans hadn't seen anything from him in weeks. That context made it land 10 times harder. The silence before the clip made the clip itself feel like a revelation. And when he did post something himself, it matched the same energy. Athlon Sports covered an Instagram carousel he dropped in late June, training footage mixed with beach recovery shots and mountain scenery. Work, then rest, then more work. No cryptic captions. No shade thrown at anyone. Fans flooded the comments saying they loved seeing that version of him. The version that's just a 24-year-old professional recharging his body and locking back in. Every piece of content connected to him this offseason tells the same story. This is a man who understands that the only argument that matters happens in pads, not on podcasts. Now here's what I need you to do real quick. If you're new here and you found this video because you love real football breakdowns with no filler and no agenda, welcome to Gridiron Ground. Hit that subscribe button right now because we cover stories like this every single week, and we go deeper than the radio shows ever will. You don't want to miss what's coming next in this video alone. Because while Shedeur was doing all of that, the chains, the ice baths, the arm work, the silence, the other side of Cleveland's quarterback room was taking a completely different approach. And the contrast is sharp. Picture the deadest week on the NFL sports calendar. No games, no training camp, no press conferences, no injury reports, nothing. The only Shedeur Sanders content in existence is a man sitting in a tub of cold water recovering from a workout. And yet, if you happen to scroll Cleveland sports media on July 14th, you found Ken Carman and Anthony Lima on 92.3 The Fan in a full, unfiltered, on-air argument about Shedeur Sanders. Not a debate, not a structured discussion, a bickering match, on the radio, during a holiday week, about a player who had not said one single public word to either of them in months. That's where this thing has landed. And here's what makes it genuinely fascinating rather than just funny. One of the hosts in the middle of the argument stopped and asked a question that nobody on that station could actually answer. He looked at his co-host and asked plainly whether anyone in 6 months of these Shedeur fights had ever actually changed their mind. Real life, online. Had one single person after one of these arguments ended ever said the words, "You know what? You're right. You've changed my mind." Dead silence. Because everybody already knows the answer. Not one person. Not once. In 6 months of daily arguments about this quarterback, 0 minds have been moved in any direction. Which means the fighting was never persuasion. It was never analysis. It was something else entirely, an obsession dressed up as sports coverage, running on a loop because the loop itself generates engagement. The callers call in. The segments run long. The clips get shared on social media by people who are furious, which is exactly what the station needs to justify doing it again tomorrow. And it's not like this was an isolated incident. This was the pattern all summer. Every slow week, every dead news cycle, every moment where actual football content ran dry, Shedeur Sanders became the answer. Not because new information arrived. Because the controversy produces itself when you pour enough hours into it.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
The host who asked the question about changing minds wasn't wrong. He was the only honest voice in the room that day. He essentially said out loud what the entire structure of the argument was built to avoid saying, that this isn't football analysis anymore. This is an audience that has organized its identity around a take, and the radio hosts have organized their programming around that audience. Nobody wants resolution. Resolution kills the content. Meanwhile, and this cannot be overstated, the subject of all of it was doing nothing. Not nothing as in inactive. Nothing as in not reacting. Not posting subtweets. Not doing interviews to set the record straight, not calling into competing shows to defend himself. He was in an ice bath in Texas while 2 adults in Cleveland argued about whether you're allowed to mention his rookie year without providing full historical context first. One of those 2 camps is losing something in this situation. And it is absolutely not the man in the tub. But the radio wasn't even the most revealing part of that week. Because 10 days earlier, Someone with actual NFL credentials decided to weigh in, and what he said exposed something much bigger about how this whole machine operates. 10 days before the radio meltdown, former NFL scout Daniel Kelly was sitting at home watching that viral sprint clip, the one with the chains, the heat, the resistance training, and he decided the correct response was to fire off a public tweet calling Shedeur Sanders way too slow. Yard Barker picked it up and ran it as a brutal reality check over a workout clip in July. Let's actually think about that for a second. Shedeur ran a 4.6840 at the combine, which, yes, is not elite speed. He also picked up 169 rushing yards as a rookie in his first professional season, mostly on improvised plays where the pocket broke down. But more importantly, and this is the part that got completely skipped in the coverage, he was running those sprints while dragging resistance chains through 104-degree Texas heat. That's called resistance training. The entire point of resistance training is that you look slower while doing it so that you are faster when you don't have weight strapped to you. You're not supposed to look like Tyreek Hill pulling a sled. You're supposed to look like Tyreek Hill in September because you pulled that sled in July. It is genuinely one of the most basic concepts in athletic conditioning. Nobody mentioned it, not the scout, not the outlet that ran the story, because mentioning it would have ended the story immediately. Then you stack the trade rumors on top of that, and the picture gets even clearer. All summer long, national outlets have been linking Shedeur to the Cowboys, the Jaguars, and the Jets. Pro Football Network floated the idea of Jerry Jones grabbing him cheaply to sit behind Dak Prescott. Sounds dramatic. Sounds like a story. Except the Sporting News noted that the actual reporting from people inside the building says he's staying. The actual building says he's improving. The rumor machine keeps printing anyway, because a quiet quarterback in an ice bath doesn't generate clicks by himself. Somebody has to manufacture the noise, and there's an entire industry built to do exactly that. Now, quick pause right here. This is the kind of story that Gridiron Ground exists to tell, not the manufactured noise, the actual story underneath it. If you've been watching this video and you're thinking this is exactly the kind of football content I want more of, that subscribe button is right there. Tap it. Join the channel, because we do this every week and we are just getting started on this one. Back to the noise machine. Because Joe Thomas, Hall of Fame offensive tackle, legitimate Browns legend, also weighed in this summer and said Shedeur isn't exceptional at using his legs to pick up first downs, and predicted Deshaun Watson would likely walk into training camp as the starter. All the respect in the world for what Joe Thomas accomplished on the field. But that's a strange flag to plant when an actual NFL quarterback who spent 8 years taking real snaps watched the same film and saw a guy who can run for 10 to 12 yards anytime he needs it. The technical evaluators are telling a completely different story. And that story deserves its own breakdown. Here's the thing about Cleveland radio. When you're generating content for a local audience in a dead week, you don't necessarily need the most qualified voice in the room. You need the loudest one. You need the take that makes the phone lines light up. You need the angle that makes people pull over and yell at their dashboard. The actual football evaluators don't operate that way. And what they're saying about Shedeur Sanders sounds almost nothing like what's been airing on 92.3 The Fan. Chris Sims played quarterback in the NFL for 8 seasons, mostly in Tampa. He starred at Texas before that. When he evaluates arm talent, he's not comparing players against a hot take quota. He's comparing them against quarterbacks he shared fields and film rooms with. And he went on a national platform, not a Cleveland drive time show, a national one with no local agenda to feed, and said flat out that Shedeur has an NFL starting quarterback arm. Said it's plenty good to make every big throw on the field. Said the backyard plays, the improvised throws under pressure, the ability to extend plays, those genuinely surprised him from a rookie. That's not a Cleveland homer talking. That's a former NFL quarterback with 8 years of professional experience and zero reason to protect anyone's feelings, giving you his honest evaluation. And he wasn't alone on the technical side. Lance Riesland went on 92.3 The Fan, yes, the same station, and broke down something that the drama-focused segments kept burying. He talked about how Shedeur attacks the middle of the field, hitting those chunk throws between the hashes in the 15 to 25-yard range, and said he does it at a very, very high level. Then he pointed out something that should have been the headline of every Shedeur segment this summer. Todd Monken's offense, the new head coach's system, is built on attacking exactly that area of the field. Read that again slowly. The film analyst is telling you that the new coach's scheme and the young quarterback's most elite skill are essentially designed for each other. That's not a coincidence. That's a fit. And fits matter enormously when a quarterback is learning a new system under a new staff in a pressure environment.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
This is the part of the story that gets almost zero airtime on local radio because it requires patience to explain, and it doesn't make anyone angry. Nobody calls in fired up because a film analyst said the new scheme suits the young quarterback's strengths. But that information is more relevant to predicting what happens in training camp than any hot take about his 40 time. The Sims evaluation, the Riesland scheme breakdown, the Haslam comments at the owners' meetings. Stack those together and you have a picture that looks nothing like the narrative being sold on Cleveland's drive time radio. And then you look at the actual numbers from spring practices, the ones that are hardest to spin, and the picture gets even more interesting. Because those numbers don't show a quarterback fading. They show something much closer to a dead heat. And a dead heat in May and June means something very specific about what happens when the pads go on in late July. Let's talk about what spring practices actually produced, because the statistics from open team drills tell a story that neither side of the Cleveland media argument wants to fully acknowledge. The Spun reported the numbers. In open team drills this offseason, Deshaun Watson completed 90 of 133 passes with 13 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Shedeur Sanders went 79 of 113 with 5 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Watson had more attempts and more touchdown volume, but both completions percentages were similar. Both interceptions totals were identical, and the gap between them in every meaningful category was nowhere near as dramatic as the radio coverage suggested. That's what a real quarterback competition looks like. Close, competitive, neither guy putting the other one away, neither guy creating separation that forces a decision, which is exactly why Todd Monken, the new head coach, refused to do the thing everyone assumed he would do after minicamp. He wouldn't name a starter. Think about what that means in practical terms. Monken walked into this job with a $230 million guaranteed veteran on his roster. The path of least resistance, the path that avoids controversy, kills the drama and lets him focus on scheme installation, was to walk out of spring with Watson as QB1 and Shedeur as the developmental backup. Simple, clean, nobody fights about it. He couldn't do it because the young quarterback wouldn't let him. Heavy reported that Monken said he would have loved to leave spring with a clear number 1, that he genuinely wanted the clarity. And then he admitted he didn't have it, which means he extended the competition into training camp not as a political gesture, not to manage feelings or protect draft capital, but because the football genuinely wasn't decided yet. And it goes deeper than that. Browns Nation reported something that deserves to be the biggest headline of the entire offseason, and somehow it got buried under trade rumors and radio arguments. The job likely would have already been Watson's if Shedeur hadn't been so impressive in OTAs. Not competitive, not close enough to justify extending it. Already Watson's. The silent guy, the ice bath guy, the one who never responds to anything on social media, closed the gap so completely in May and June that a $230 million veteran couldn't shake him loose. Then add the growth report. ESPN described Shedeur's development this offseason as phenomenal, with real measurable improvement in the two areas where everyone criticized him as a rookie: footwork and processing speed. Those aren't feelings. Those aren't vibes. Footwork and processing speed are the two most trackable, most coachable traits a quarterback has at this level. Coaches can see footwork in slow motion. They can measure processing through pre-snap reads and throw timing. When the people watching him every single day asterisk, not watching one workout clip, not watching a highlight reel, watching every rep, say both of those areas jump, that matters. That's what spending the winter in Cleveland buys you. That's what the chains and the ice baths are actually for. But none of that fully explains the stakes behind this competition. And the stakes are something the radio shows consistently gloss over because the math, when you lay it out clearly, is genuinely uncomfortable for the Watson side of this argument. Here's the number that frames everything and almost never gets mentioned clearly on Cleveland sports radio. Deshaun Watson's contract is $230 million, fully guaranteed, every single dollar. That number alone doesn't tell the whole story. The story is what he's done with the opportunity it purchased. Yard Barker laid it out without any cushioning. Watson started 19 games out of a possible 68 as a Cleveland Brown. 19. And Jimmy Haslam himself, standing in front of the other NFL owners, admitted that the franchise took a big swing on that signing and missed. That's not a beat reporter's interpretation. That's the owner saying it in public. Now put Shedeur's contract next to that. His entire rookie deal, 4 years, fully structured, costs a fraction of what Watson earns in a single game check. Not a season, a game. And every first-team rep Watson takes in training camp, every snap in the preseason, every start that goes to the veteran, those are snaps the young quarterback doesn't get during the exact developmental window that defines whether young quarterbacks become franchise players or career backups. This is the math the radio shows skip, because it forces you to ask a question with an uncomfortable answer. At what point does protecting the $230 million investment start actively costing you something more valuable? Because if Shedeur's ceiling is what Haslam's instincts and the spring evaluations suggest it might be, every week the window delays is a week that can't be recovered. And the young core around him is clearly buying in. Casey Conception, the rookie receiver, has been everywhere in these off-season workouts, catching passes from Watson one week, grinding routes with veterans like Deontay Johnson the next, showing up in clips and sessions that suggest the locker room's energy isn't fractured or dramatic. The negativity in this story is not coming from inside that building. It's coming from studios, from radio booths, from people who need conflict to justify the segment. Inside the building, what you're seeing is a group of young players treating this like a legitimate opportunity, because it is one. And the way Shedeur is moving suggests he understands the stakes better than anyone giving commentary on him. He's not running from the pressure of the contract comparison. He's not publicly challenging the veteran's standing. He's training in triple-digit heat with weights strapped to his body, and then getting into ice water to recover so he can do it again tomorrow.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
That's what someone looks like when they know exactly how narrow their window is and have decided to take maximum advantage of every single day inside it. There's also one more detail from the Joe Thomas conversation that got lost in the coverage of his Watson prediction. Thomas, whatever you think of his take on Shedeur's legs, also went on 92.3 The Fan and torched the trade talk completely. He called Shedeur a development project who was forced onto the field before he was ready, and said flipping him for a 4th-round pick would make 0 sense when nobody has any idea what his ceiling actually is yet. Even the voice the media loves to use against him, is telling you to keep him and let the competition play out. That's what the clean slate actually looks like, and it's worth understanding exactly what that clean slate means going forward. Kevin Stefanski is gone. That's not just a coaching change. In the context of this quarterback competition, it's an erasure. Every grievance, every narrative, every stale take built on last season's dynamics gone. Every accusation about favoritism, every argument about who Stefanski's system was designed to protect, every piece of drama that accumulated over a year of Cleveland quarterback discourse, wiped clean the moment Todd Monken walked through the door as head coach. And even the most Shedeur skeptical voices on Cleveland radio admitted it in real time. In the middle of that July 14th argument, the one that went viral for all the wrong reasons, one of the hosts said it plainly. New coach, clean slate. They're going to compete at camp and the best man wins. That's the whole story. That's the only sentence that matters between now and late July. Everything else is noise manufactured to fill airtime until the pads go on and real football begins. Monken himself made his philosophy clear. Heavy reported he believes both quarterbacks can start and play winning football at the NFL level, which is why he extended the competition instead of closing it. You don't extend a competition out of politeness. You don't leave a $230 million veteran in a battle out of sentiment. You do it because the football demands it. Because the guy challenging him is making it impossible to just hand the job over and move on. Field Yates at ESPN called it the truest quarterback competition in the NFL right now. Not a formality, not a coronation with a press release attached. A genuine, dead-even fight that will be decided by performance in pads, not by contract size, not by draft position, not by what any radio host argued about on a Wednesday in July when nothing else was happening. That's the environment Shedeur has created with silence and work. Not with interviews, not with social media campaigns, not with agents calling reporters, with chains, with sprints, with ice water, with staying in Cleveland when he could have been anywhere else. And right here, one more time before we close this out, if you've made it this far into this video and you're genuinely invested in this story, you are exactly who Gridiron Ground was built for. Real football fans who want the full picture, not the hot take, not the manufactured outrage. The actual story. Subscribe right now. Hit the bell, because when training camp opens and the real competition footage starts coming out, we are going to be all over it with the same depth you got today. You don't want to be the last one to find out what happens. Because here's what the clean slate ultimately means. When the Browns opened September 13th in Jacksonville, whoever is under center got there because a new head coach with no old loyalties and no old baggage watched every rep and made a pure football decision. Not a business decision, not a PR decision, a football decision. And if the offseason is any indication, the OTA numbers, the growth reports, the owner's comments, the fact that the job almost defaulted to Watson until one silent quarterback made it impossible. Then what happens between now and that Jacksonville opener is going to be worth watching very closely. The work is working, and the only people falling apart are the ones holding the microphones. Here is the part of this story that somehow never makes it onto Cleveland radio between all the shouting and the dead week arguments, and the tweets about 40 times. If Shedeur Sanders wins this job, and everything this offseason suggests he is making that genuinely difficult to prevent, what does that mean for the narrative machine that spent an entire summer trying to convince you he couldn't? Because that question matters, not just for Shedeur, not just for the Browns, but for the way sports media operates around young quarterbacks in contested situations, particularly young black quarterbacks with famous fathers and polarizing draft stories attached to their names. Think about the structure of everything that happened this summer. A viral workout clip got picked apart for slowness by someone who didn't mention the resistance chains. A Hall of Famer predicted Watson would walk in as starter, which didn't happen. Trade rumors to Dallas, Jacksonville, and New York got printed repeatedly despite zero sourcing from inside the building. Two radio hosts turned a July dead week into a shouting match about a player who was sitting in ice water saying nothing. None of that coverage was neutral. All of it was framed around the assumption that Shedeur was either fading, fleeing, or failing. And every time the actual evidence pushed back against that assumption, the owner's comments, the spring statistics, the Monken competition extension, the growth reports, that evidence got buried under the next hot take cycle before it could land. That's not an accident. That's how the machine protects itself. Because if the evidence gets full airtime and full context, the argument ends. And ending the argument is the one thing the argument industrial complex cannot afford to do. Now here's what makes Shedeur's approach so interesting from a purely strategic standpoint. He clearly understands this. He is not fighting a media battle he cannot win on media's terms. He is redirecting the entire competition onto a field where he has full control, the actual football field, and waiting for September to make the argument for him in a language that cannot be edited, clipped out of context, or spun into a hot take. That is a level of emotional discipline that most 24-year-olds don't have. And honestly, most 34-year-olds don't have it either. The Browns open September 13th in Jacksonville. That game will tell you more about this quarterback competition than every segment, every tweet, every scout's phone video, and every July radio argument combined. Because football is the one place where the noise machine has no jurisdiction. You either move the offense or you don't. You either process the defense or you don't. You either hang in the pocket under pressure and deliver, the way Chris Sims said he already can, or you don't. Shedeur Sanders has spent this entire offseason betting everything on that moment. Chains in the heat, ice water in the recovery, footwork in the morning, film at night, staying in Cleveland when nobody was watching. The radio shows will keep running. The trade rumors will keep printing. The arguments about arguing will keep happening on dead Wednesdays in July. And the man in the ice bath will keep saying absolutely nothing. Until September 13th says it all for him. So let's put the whole picture together one final time. It is the middle of summer. Shedeur Sanders has not said one public word about any radio host, any scout, any Hall of Famer, or any trade rumor. His entire offseason statement has been chains, sprints, 104-degree heat, arm work, ice water, and silence. In response, a scout called him slow over a resistance training clip. Two radio hosts bickered about whether you're even allowed to mention his rookie year. National outlets invented trade destinations. And Cleveland media spent its deadest week of the year arguing about the rules of arguing about him. One quarterback is narrating his grind for the cameras. The other one got caught grinding by accident. And somehow the quiet one closed the gap so completely in spring that a $230 million veteran couldn't shake him. The meltdown isn't about Shedeur's game. It's about what happens to the content when he wins. Training camp is right around the corner. The ice baths either show up on the field or they don't. And that's the beautiful part. He doesn't have to win a single argument on Cleveland radio. He just has to win. Drop your prediction in the comments, Shedeur or Watson, and let's see where Gridiron ground stands.
Why do I scroll on July 14th? And by the grace of God, because I promise you, I don't follow 92.3 The Fan, but by the grace of, I don't know if it's God, but oh wow, who would have guessed? Ken Carmen and Anthony Lima arguing and bickering about Shedeur. Say, oh, what possibly could they be upset about now? It's the middle of July. The only updates we have are people in ice baths. Side note, I almost caught hypothermia one time, or maybe it was just anaphylactic shock. I don't know. One time I got in the ice bath on the 2-a-day in an FCA camp, and I felt like I was dying. So I don't rock with ice baths. I do want to just put that out in the